Hello inmates. Okay, it's getting a little bit colder now. We're now in October and time to put coats on. It's a bit chilly here today in England. A very wet, miserable day in fact. Now, I've been wanting to bring this video to you for a long time because, as you might probably know, there's a massive light range, D7s, S4s, D4s, D2s, DMs, etc, etc. But today we're going to use the example of the S4. Now, there's been a lot of confusion over the past 2 years about what to buy. And obviously I put bundles together on the website. So if you've got a BMW or a KTM that can take a Cansmart because you've got a CAN bus system, well then you plug your lights into the Cansmarts, and the Cansmart does all the funky functions like strobing and allowing the lights to turn off on the respective side when you indicate. So up to now, people who have subscribed to my channel previously will know that we do the whole Cansmart thing with the lights, and this is a great setup if you've got a BMW or a KTM. Now, I also sell the kit form over here. Now, the kit form is not for a BMW or a KTM. There's nothing stopping you from fitting it to a BMW or KTM. However, if you've got a BMW or a KTM and you've got a CAN bus system and there's a respective Cansmart to plug into your bike, then the advice is get the Cansmart and then buy the lights in individual pods. And then you plug them into the Cansmart, then obviously you can plug in the sound bomb, the rear light, indicators, T3s, etc, etc. But today we're going to put this to one side and we're going to talk about what's over here. So what I've got here is the S4 kit. Now this kit can go on any motorbike, Kawasaki, Honda, Suzuki, you name it, it will go on anything that's got a 12-volt battery. And if you've got an ignition on the vehicle as well, which most 12-volt vehicle batteries do, well then you'll have a switched live as well. So it's not necessary to have switched live, but it's advisable. And today I'm going to show you how I can connect this to a bike with a switch live, and how you can actually have an S4 kit on any bike, or on your bike if you haven't got a BMW or a KTM, or should I say if you haven't got a modern BMW or a modern KTM with CAN bus systems. The thing is, if you buy just the S4 kit, well then you're limited to what you can do with it. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by this in a moment. Now you'll notice behind here, this is my motorbike. I've got it covered up because I don't want to detract from the eye, because if I take the cover off, you're going to see my lights on there, and I don't want to confuse anyone. So all we need my bike here for is to access the battery and the switched live. First of all, I'm going to show you what's inside the S4 kit. In the S4 kit, you get a wiring harness, and on that wiring harness is a single intensity relay or a single intensity controller. This will enable you to turn the lights on and off. There's also a switch in here which also enables you to turn the light on and off, but because it's got the single intensity controller plugged into the harness, all you're ever going to get is 100% brightness. But we can configure this to do 50% to 100%, and I'll show you in a moment. And then inside the box you get 2 S4s. No point in pulling it out, and you get instructions, which come in very handy when you're obviously wiring it all up to your bike. But it's very easy, and I'm going to show you now. The other thing I'm going to show you today is the dual intensity controller. So by buying this as an optional extra, you can unplug the single intensity controller and plug this in its place, and that will give you access to high and low beam. And then if you want to, you can add the high-low off switch, which would obviously be a perfect option to add if you're going to have the dual intensity controller, so you can actually toggle between low and high beam. However, if you don't want a secondary switch on your handlebar, which I understand a lot of people don't want, well then you can buy the switch eliminator plug. So by plugging this into the harness that comes with the S4 kit, you can get rid of the light switch, and you don't need to buy the high-low off switch, because you'll be able to operate the lights on your own light switch on your bike, whether that be a Kawasaki, Suzuki, a Honda, etc, etc. So I've put a link down below to this bundle I'm showing you right now, but you can configure it how you want, because I understand that some people might want a secondary switch. You might want that second switch on your handlebar, but then again a lot of people don't. Let's put this to one side. So in the S4 kit, this is what you get. So on here, you've got the single intensity relay, you've got the connections that go to the battery, and you've got the connections that go to the light pods, and then you've got another lead coming out here plugged into the harness, which is the switch just turning the lights on and off. So this is exactly how it comes out of the box. You just unravel it and it looks just like this. So I'm going to connect this up, hook up the lights so you can see it working. What I've done here is I've taken some S4 lights and I've mounted them onto this bar just here. Now come and take a look at what I've actually done over here. So you can see here where I've connected the S4s to the harness. You can see the actual light switch coming off the harness over here. If I show you the side of my bike, I've connected the harness to the battery on the ground and the live. The little white wire, that's connected under the seat going to a switched live. As it stands right now, the ignition's turned off, so these lights will not work unless the ignition is on, hence why the switch live. So if you were to put that white wire to the battery, well then you could potentially drain your battery. So it mustn't go to the battery, it has to go to a switch live. Now if I flick this light switch right now, nothing happens. Just like it wouldn't on your bike if your ignition was off. So I'm going to turn the ignition on. So the bike is now turned on. If I had that switch already turned on, the lights would come on automatically. So that's an option for you. But the only thing is, when I switch this on, these are going to come on at 100%. Which is going to blind everybody. That's 100%, that's full beam. And that's how the S4 kit comes out of the box, which is why we need to purchase the dual intensity controller and plug it in. So let's do that now and show you the difference. So this is where the single intensity relay is plugged in. It shows you this in illustrations in the instructions. And here is the dual intensity controller next to it. So all we do is it's what they call a hot swap, and we're going to flick this up here, pull that off, and put that in its place until it clicks. The dual intensity relay is now plugged in, and we no longer need this single intensity relay. Now, if I leave it just like this, it's naturally not going to solve the issue because we still have a switch which only turns on and off, and we need the switch to do high-low. So there's no point in fitting the dual intensity relay if you're not going to change the switch on here, all right? To unplug the switch, we literally just pull it out here, and then the high-low switch, which is here, which you might not need if we're going to use the switch eliminator, but I'm just going to show you this now working. So as you can see there, you've got low, off and high. 1 is low, the little circle is off, and the 2 is high. Let's plug this in. And now we're going to switch the lights on again. Back to the ignition. The bike is now turned on. As you can see, they haven't come on. That's because that's in the off position. Now if I go to number 1, you'll see that is 50%. If I go through the off position and to there's your full beam. So you've got 50% and full beam. 50% and full beam. Now, if you're happy with just having that on your handlebar as a secondary switch, the kit comes with mounts, so you can mount it on your handlebar, then that's a perfect option for you, and you don't need to purchase the switch eliminator. However, the switch eliminator is not expensive. It's only like an extra £9 or £10. Right, so let's put the switch eliminator on and remove the switch, and I'll show you how we can control these lights on the switch on the handlebar. It's worth knowing, I've just turned the ignition off on the bike and the lights are still on. So you can still control your lights, but only up for so long. So if I leave that on running light on position 1, these will eventually turn off, just like when your sat nav, or depending if you've got that feature on your bike, if the lights stay on for, let's say, 30 seconds, because on the BMW they stay on for a little while and then they turn off, so it won't drain your battery. But I'm going to turn it off here, but they will go off after a while. But we don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. Okay, so turn it off. So we're going to take that switch again, unplug the switch because we're not going to be needing that. This is the switch eliminator. It's tiny little thing. It just bridges out 2 circuits. We plug this in. Okay, now this switch eliminator plug has been plugged into the harness. You also get this blue wire with the dual intensity controller. And what you do is you plug in one end to the little blue pigtail which is coming out the back of the switch eliminator plug. And then the other end, you need to put that onto your high beam feed of your bike. Now, I don't really want to pierce the high beam lead on my own personal bike, but if you imagine when you put your high beam on, current will go through that wire, which will then feed through here, which will activate the high beam on here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take off this little posi tap and I'm going to dab this on the positive side of my battery to show you what dipped and full beam look like. All right, so first of all, what we're going to do is turn the ignition on so you can see these come on at 50%. So remember, there's no switch to the lights at all. We're going to be using our OEM switches. So by taking this blue wire, I'm just going to dab it on the positive, which is exactly the same as if you were switching the full beam on, because you would have this connected to your full beam wire. So here we go. That's what would happen. So these lights will now not go off until the ignition has actually fully switched off. So if you've got a bike where the ignition just goes off as soon as you turn the key off, they'll go off immediately. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, make a comment. There's, as I mentioned, there's been a lot of confusion over whether people should buy kits or whether they should buy single pods. Single pods are for Cansmart applications. Kits are for exactly this. You can fit it to anything with a 12-volt battery, which is pretty fantastic. If you click on the link below, as I've shown you here, this is an S4 kit example, but I've also got a D4 kit example, a D7 kit example, and there probably will be more being added as I get the time to put the DM, the D2, DR1s, all these different bundles together for non-Cansmart bikes. Okay, so it's up to you. There you go, it's just turned off. So it's up to you if you want to just buy the S4 kit by itself, or whether you want to have the switch eliminator plug, the high-low off switch as an extra, and the dual intensity controller. You don't need all of those, but I hope from this video you can understand what your options are and why you need what, and so you're not overbuying and buying too much. There's one more thing I forgot to mention that I have included, well, I haven't included, but they're not free, but you'll notice that on the listing I've put these 22 to 28mm crash bar light mounts in this package, but you can remove them, so you'll see when you go on there. It's the first thing. Do you want to take on this D7, this D4, this S4 kit with or without some light mounts? Because I appreciate you might have a bike where we haven't got a bike specific mount for you, but if you do find a bike specific mount for your bike, well then you don't have to add these to your shopping cart, but they are already on there and you can add or remove them. So you'll see those on there, and that's exactly what I'm using here. So if I just show you, it's these mounts here, so it can go on almost, well, any bar that you might have on your bike, whether it's a lower crash bar, engine crash bar, upper crash bar, or some sort of framework you might have on your bike where you can mount these lights to it. Once again, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I hope it's been real helpful to you. There'll be more videos coming soon, and thanks for watching. Ride safe, guys. The weather's getting bad out there, but it is in this part of the world anyway, and stay safe behind bars.